Hello, everyone. My name is Ned Dennis, and I'm the chairperson of the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame. We have with us one of our class of 2025 honorees, Joe Zemaitis from the United States. Joe, please say hello.
Hello.
Joe, you've run an interesting program for turning some of your pool swimmers into enthusiastic open water swimmers. And you've done it in a way that I don't think anybody else has really done, which is to expose them to probably one of the coolest swims in the world, which is Alcatraz. So tell us a little bit about your program, how long it's been going, the purpose, what the results have been.
Sure. Yeah, it's a fun thing to talk about. It started in with one kid that was seven. That's Braxton Bilbrey back in 2006. Became the youngest to swim from Alcatraz when he was 7 years old. So he read a story in a magazine about a 9-year-old that did it, and he said, "I want to break that record." And I'd done the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon 7 times, so I knew exactly what that swim was and how if it's planned correctly, it's not that hard of a swim if you're prepared for it. And I just had been coaching Braxton for almost a year at that point, and he was really tough, strong swimmer, and figured that with the right exposure to cold water and wetsuit and that sort of thing, he could do it. And he did. And long story short, there, I mean, he just had a great swim. It got some pretty big media attention, but he but the interesting thing there was we had a bunch of the other kids on the team that wanted to do it. So I was like, well, if I did it for Braxton, I can do it for them too. So I was thinking we'd have about a dozen kids that wanted to do it. And over that summer, I fortuitously connected with Bob Roper from the South End Rowing Club, who was really the heart and soul behind getting our program started. And Bob had reached out to Braxton, myself, and we did his first annual Bob Roper Golden Gate Bridge swim in 2006. So that was the connection with Bob. And then I say, I had this group. It might be a dozen kids. We just want to get out and do this swim one time. So, I could let these other kids that saw what he did, saw what Braxton did, do get the same opportunity. So the dozen or so kids I thought we'd have the first year turned into 50. And after 50 kids the first year, they started talking about, well, when are we going to do it next year? I was thinking, next year? I didn't think of this as an annual event. And by year three, we turned it into a two-day event over the weekend. So it's Alcatraz swim on Saturday and swim across the Golden Gate Bridge on Sunday. And this year will be our 19th annual event when we go in April of this coming year.
Talk to us about the parents, the responsibility, and what you do to keep sane in that respect.
Sure. So the parents, I mean, it's always a good group because I find that the Alcatraz training is kind of self-selective. We have a very specific training process. I mean, these are all club pool swimmers, so they're training that age. They're pretty much training 3 to 5 days a week in the pool. So that distance of that 1.4 miles isn't a really a barrier for any of them because they do more than that in practice every day. Starting in October, we'll go to the lakes, to Bartlett Lake, which is about an hour drive from Phoenix, Arizona, where we're based out of. And we do our first open water swim in October, where the water's still about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So we kind of ride that temperature down. So by Thanksgiving time, so end of November, we do our first wetsuit swim where that water is in the mid 60s. And then this time of year, I mean, we have one this weekend, and the water should be upper 50s. By middle of January, it's been a warm winter here in Phoenix, but the lake will get down to the low 50s. It's really cold, even in a wetsuit. So we have the kids get in and swim in this cove. We have good supervision and safety out there, and they have just they have to get in and we basically swim for an hour straight when we're up there every time. So it's self-selective, and like the kids I've seen over the years who don't want to do it for the right reasons don't make it through the training, right? If it's the parents that are pushing it, if they're just doing it because their friends want them to, 1 hour in really cold water is enough for them to not come back. So it's a really good program that takes kids who are have a strong swimming background, but maybe don't have the opportunity or to distinguish themselves. They might not be the state champion swimmer, but these are the tough kids that are going to get in and challenge the elements and have an awesome adventure.
And are the parents, are they carpooling? Are they helping you with the safety? What's their specific involvement?
So the specific involvement for the parents is just what we want for our club swimming parents, is that they encourage their kids, they keep them well fed, they get them there on time, and they let the coaches coach. So they've been really good with that. We've had parents that have come back year after year. We've had some kids that have done it over 10 times, that started when they were 8 or 9 and are now in college, flying back to do the event. And the parents who have been around for years and years really kind of step up in that mentorship role. It's good to, when we're out in the water at Bartlett Lake, it's interesting. I'm, either in the kayak if I'm not in the water, and just watching them, kind of talk and interact. And some of those experienced parents can let the newer parents know kind of what they're in for, or what, kind of parent to parent, what to expect. So I always tell them that you always, just like a swim practice, you listen more to kids on their way home than on the way there. It's like I've heard over the years, just as a pool coach, it's parents say, "Oh, my kid on the way to practice just complaining, doesn't want to go, but like on the way home, they talk about how great it was and they're glad they went." And a lot of times it's like that, I'm sure, for the open water, because it can be intimidating. Especially, I said, the second one's always the hardest. You can tell people what cold water's like, but until they experience for themselves, they can't quite understand how painful that can be. So the first one's just kind of a shock. So the ones that come back for that second cold water swim, that's when you've really got them hooked in open water.
And how do you get them all from Phoenix to San Francisco? Do you charter a plane? Do the parents make individual arrangements? Do you get a bus that takes 3 days? How does it work?
So it's I'm not a travel agent, so it's all on their own. We've learned over the years that we give them basically, here's the time and places you need to be. Here's where we meet on the pier on Saturday morning. Here's our safety briefing Friday night. Here's where we meet Saturday. Here's a fun awards celebration we have Saturday afternoon. Here's where we meet for the Golden Gate Bridge to go over there on Sunday. So we give you 4 places that you need to be. Everything else is up to you. Some people take a week there and make it, over spring break and make it more of a vacation. Some people are kind of in and out. People are going to do what works for them. And we're just telling you, here's where you need to be for the swim events. And it's worked out really well that way.
I think for other swim coaches or organizers around the world, we do something very similar for our swim program in Cork, Ireland, which is we're not a travel agent. We don't book flights. We don't book bed and breakfast. We don't book hotels. We don't book rental cars. The one thing we do is we will help people find roommates. We'll,
Yeah.
we'll, we'll say these people are looking and these people got. Work yourselves out. And are the first time Alcatraz swimmers mandated to wear wetsuits, or is it up to them?
Yeah, it's pretty much all wetsuits. I mean, we'll let some of our older experienced kids that have done it a number of years go no wetsuit. But overall, it's a wetsuit swim for us. I mean, so I understand that it's not a traditional marathon swim. It's shorter. It's wetsuit legal. But for me, it's really that opening to get kids involved in open water swimming. And just seeing some really amazing successes with it over the years. Kids who see themselves as swimmers and doing something awesome they've never done before. I mean, my favorite story, I've told this one over and over. I mean, this was from the early years, but it was of a girl that was 9, I think, that was just that kid in the water that was always plugging away and swimming strong, but never fast, was never going to make it to the state championship or anything. And her mom was saying how the experience at Alcatraz was legitimately life-changing for her, because she said she was 9, 10 years old, kind of getting to the age in school where the kids were noticing, she's bigger than everybody else. And she said in just over the course of a couple of months, she went from being the fat kid in school to being the Alcatraz kid. And it was just the way it was able to kind of give her that amazing experience, and just kind of that schoolyard credibility of like, wow, that kid swam for Alcatraz. It was really special. And to me, that's just one of 100 of the stories where these kids have, swimming can be a boring sport, it can be a lonely sport, it can be a sport that your friends don't understand. Did you win your swim meet last weekend? It doesn't really work that way. Like, did you win your baseball game? And but everybody knows what Alcatraz is. Everybody knows what the Golden Gate Bridge is. And to be like, whoa, you swam from Alcatraz or you swam across the Golden Gate Bridge, that's something not a lot of people can say.
I think one of the favorite stories I have, and I hear it over and over again, is when somebody says, "Oh, so and so swam the English Channel," and the parent says, "Well, that's nothing. My kid swam Alcatraz." So Alcatraz does have this reputation.
Well,
Um,
and for people that don't understand it, when you tell them I've taken a group of kids to swim Alcatraz, they hear like, we're dropping them off in Hawaii and picking them up in LA, right? I mean, if they don't really understand the logic and the process that goes into it, they don't have that frame of reference for sure.
how do you organize the boat trip out, the kayakers, the safety crews? What kind of numbers and logistics are you talking about these days?
With our permit, we always stay under 100 swimmers. So we cut it off. We never go over that 99 level, and we just had great support over the years. Bob Roper's legacy event, that he kind of that he oversaw and organized up until he passed away in 2018. Patty Payton, kind of his right hand man in that, took over for the next couple of years, and now it's Tom Lincecum, who's Reptile, who runs all the Tahoe swims. He's our um, he's our event director, and he gets all those safety boats lined up. Brent McLean, who runs SF Boat Support out of there, has been helpful year after year. So by now, it's like we know who to talk to. We get all our boat support lined up, and it runs like clockwork. We take every extra step as far as safety goes. We have Marine units from the San Francisco Police Department that are out there on jet skis for safety. So we kind of go overboard in that respect. And it's an expensive event to put on, but especially when you're talking about kids in open water, no expenses too great to make sure that everybody's safe in the water and that we have a safe and successful event.
And if you had some of these swimmers go on to marathon careers?
So we haven't had any. I'm trying to yeah, we have had some that go on to do some other open water events. Henry Palmer started with Alcatraz open water. He's done some of the SCAR events. He swum Santa Barbara, did around Manhattan. Keaton Jones, who was on the Olympic team in 2024 and is on the U.S. national team. He's a backstroker. He did his first Alcatraz swim with us when he was 9 or 10 years old. We've had kids again go on to SCAR, do a couple legs of SCAR, but nobody's gotten into it quite as much as my brother and I have. But that's really kind of what launched me back into to open water, doing kind of that side of things, starting 19 years ago, and kind of drawing me back into open water.
Well, Joe, thank you very much. I hope swim organizers and swim coaches around the world will take some note of this, and whether they go to Chateau d'If in France for a kind of a 5K escape, or whether it's Alcatraz or some lake in their area. So again, thank you very much.
You're welcome.